A major announcement has moved one of the most anticipated video game adaptations closer to reality. Prime Video has confirmed that Ryan Hurst will portray Kratos in the live action television adaptation of God of War. For fans of the franchise, the news carries real weight. Kratos is not just a recognizable character, he is one of the most complex and emotionally demanding figures in modern gaming. Casting him was never going to be simple, and the choice of who steps into that role would inevitably define how this adaptation is received. Kratos began as a figure driven almost entirely by rage. In the early games, he was fury personified, a Spartan warrior consumed by betrayal, violence, and loss. Over time, the character evolved. The modern God of War titles reimagined him as a father, burdened by guilt, restraint, and the constant effort to break cycles of destruction. That shift is what elevated the franchise from spectacle to something deeper. Translating that evolution into live action has long been considered one of the biggest challenges in adapting video games for television. Kratos is physically imposing, but his true weight comes from what he carries internally: silence, regret, fear of becoming what he once was. Any actor stepping into the role has to communicate those layers without relying on constant dialogue or exposition. Ryan Hurst's casting suggests a clear understanding of that requirement. Hurst is known for performances that combine physical presence with emotional depth. On Sons of Anarchy, his portrayal of Opie Winston balanced loyalty, grief, and quiet devastation. On The Walking Dead, his role as Beta required both intimidation and vulnerability beneath a terrifying exterior. Those performances demonstrated an ability to convey internal conflict through posture, expression, and restraint, qualities essential to portraying Kratos authentically. Kratos is not a character who explains himself. He endures, he observes, he reacts sparingly. His silence often carries more meaning than his words. That kind of role demands an actor comfortable with stillness, with letting moments breathe rather than filling them. This casting also acknowledges the legacy of Christopher Judge, whose voice performance redefined Kratos in the modern games. Judge brought gravity, reflection, and humanity to a character once defined purely by anger. Any live action portrayal exists in conversation with that interpretation, not as a replacement, but as an evolution into a new medium. Prime Video's approach to this adaptation signals awareness of that responsibility. The series is being developed with direct involvement from Sony and the original game's creative leadership. That decision matters. Many past adaptations faltered by distancing themselves from source material or misunderstanding what made the original resonate. Here, producers have emphasized fidelity not just to the mythology and action, but to the emotional core of the story. At the center of that core is the father son relationship. The modern God of War narrative is as much about parenting as it is about gods and monsters. Kratos' relationship with Atreus is defined by restraint, uncertainty, and the fear of legacy. He is a father trying to guide a child without passing on his worst instincts. That dynamic is what transformed the franchise and earned it a new generation of fans. A live action series allows that relationship to unfold slowly, with space for silence, tension, and growth. Television, more than film, offers room to explore the small moments that give weight to epic journeys. Ryan Hurst's casting suggests the series will lean into that slower, character driven approach rather than rushing towards spectacle alone. Physically, Kratos is larger than life, but emotionally, he is deeply contained. That balance is difficult. Too much rage turns him into a caricature. Too much softness undermines his history. The performance must live in the tension between who he was and who he is trying to become. Hurst's past roles indicate comfort with that tension. The announcement also reflects the broader evolution of video game adaptations. For years, games struggled to translate to screen in a way that respected their narratives. That landscape has changed. Recent adaptations have demonstrated that honoring tone, character, and pacing can lead to critical and audience success. Studios are no longer treating games as raw IP to reshape, but as stories with built in emotional architecture. God of War is particularly well suited to that approach. Its mythology provides scale, but its heart lies in introspection. Violence is present, but it is often framed as consequence rather than thrill. Kratos' journey is not about conquest, it is about restraint, responsibility, and survival in a world shaped by past mistakes. Prime Video has not announced a release date, but the casting of Kratos signals that the project is moving closer to production. For fans, this moment marks the transition from concept to reality. Online reaction has been immediate and intense. Some debate how the character will translate visually. Others focus on performance, tone, and faithfulness. That reaction underscores the significance of the franchise and the expectations attached to it. Kratos is not just another fantasy protagonist. He represents a shift in how games tell stories. His arc mirrors themes of aging, accountability, and parenthood that resonate well beyond gaming. Bringing that character to live action television is not about replicating gameplay, it's about preserving meaning. Ryan Hurst now carries that responsibility. If successful, his portrayal could redefine how audiences see Kratos outside the console. If mishandled, the weight of expectation will be unforgiving. That risk is unavoidable when adapting something so deeply beloved. But the care shown so far, from creative involvement to casting choice, suggests an understanding of what's at stake. As production moves forward, the focus will remain on whether the series can honor the character's complexity while standing on its own as television. The announcement of Ryan Hurst as Kratos doesn't answer that question, but it frames it clearly. This adaptation will rise or fall not on how loudly Kratos shouts, but on how convincingly he carries his silence. And that may be the most important test of all.